Hello everyone. My name is Elise. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing so good today. We're going over my reading goals check-in. It is the third quarter check-in. We're already into the last fourth of the year. I can't believe it. I'm filming this on Friday the 13th, Friday, October 13th, spooky vibes. So some of these check-ins, some of these stats are gonna be as of today because it's just too convoluted for me to try and parse out what I've already read this month and the things that I read prior. But some of them I do just track monthly, so they'll be like right at the cutoff of the third quarter, so right at the cutoff of the end of September. So we'll go ahead and get into the reading goals that I have for this year and how I'm doing so far. I'm feeling pretty good going into this. I will say I have made a concerted effort to try and catch up on at least one of the goals in particular, and I think I've done a pretty good job. So we'll see. I know I'm not doing good on all of them. So let's dive right in. So first goal, which is maybe the most arbitrary goal for me, or at least like I set it to a very realistic number, so I pretty much know I'm going to hit it, is my books read for the year. So my goal was 75 books this year, and I have completed that already. Yay! I have, as of today, read 77 books for the year, so 2 above. And I sort of knew, again, that I was going to hit it. 75 was a conservative number for me. For example, like last year, I think I read well over 100. So now kind of in my head, I'm like, okay, I can hit 100 again. So maybe that's the new goal in my head. But the official goal was 75. I hit it. Yay, I've read 77. So that is goal number 1. Goal number 2 is trying to read 5 Picante Beef Babies, aka books over 500 pages. Now this I was very behind in going into my check-in at the halfway mark for the year. I had only read 1. And I'm happy to report that in the past quarter, I read 2 additional. So now I have read 3 in total. The 3 that I've read thus far are Blankets by Craig Thompson, and I've read The Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds, or Songbirds and Snakes, I always get that wrong, by Suzanne, and Osebol by Marit. By someone Marit. I can't quite remember her name. It will be on the cover that you're seeing. So I've now read 3, which means like I think I can actually make this goal by the end of the year. I only need to get 2 more in, and I have plans to try and read 1 in November, 1 in December. I'm not reading 1 in October. I already know that because my October TBR is way too stacked as it is, and I didn't have time to put a huge book in there that was also spooky themed, because in October I only read spooky themed books. So in November, I will share that I have plans to read Pachinko as a buddy read with my friend Kat. So you'll see that coming up on my TBR later in the month. And then the one for December is still up in the air. I've had a lot of questioning of what that book might be. So if you have strong opinions of a 500 plus page book that I should read, please let me know down below. But I'll just say some things I'm thinking about are 1, Collected Stories by Lydia Sandgren, I believe is her name. Basically because Joe brought it to my attention, said that they loved it. I think it was their favorite book so far at the time that they told me about it for the year. And the synopsis sounds so good. It sounds right up my street. So that's definitely potential to read. I've also questioned reading Duck's Newberry Port, but that's over 1,000 pages, so that might be crazy. Please let me know if you have some other ones that you think I should read, and I will definitely take them into account for my last Picante Beef Baby of the year. So doing pretty good on my goal of reading 5 Picante Beef Babies. Already read 3. I think I'll be able to make it. So fingers crossed I can do it. Next up, we have a couple of translated reading goals. So the first one is reading 1 translated book a month, and this I have done. This also tends to be a pretty easy one for me, but it's one that I like having because I want to consistently be picking up translated literature, not just reading them all at like certain chunks of the year, but I want to be picking them up throughout. So this I have done. I've read well over one every month. There have been some months where I've read 5 in a month, and then some where I think the lowest month I've had is 2 in a month. So doing well on this, tick, yay. Next translated goal is trying to read 30% of the books I'm picking up being translated literature, so translated into English for me. And this I have done. So I will admit, this goal going into the year, I was a little bit nervous because this is about like 1 in every 3rd book I need to be picking up is translated. And thinking of it that way feels like a lot to me. I'm not sure why, but so far I have read 36% of my reading as translated literature. So very happy with that. I'm well above the 30% that I initially wanted. So stoked that that's the number. I think the number might even get higher later in the year because some of the videos I have planned have a TBR that is really stacked with translated literature. So I think this has potential to go up even more, which would be great and crazy and more than I would have imagined it to be. So very happy that I've made this goal so far, and think again it should be pretty easy because I'm so high above it that I should make it by the end of the year. So that is the 30% of my reading being translated. Next up, we have the goal that I know I'm not doing good at. This is the one that I couldn't catch up on. I really focused in on the big books, and this one fell by the wayside a little bit. And this is tracking my books in and out. Now, I have done the tracking, but it's not even, which is what I would like it to be. And I have a very convoluted way of tracking this, which I've explained before, but basically without all the rest of the nuance, I'll just say the tracking books in is any book that I choose to bring into my library. So any book that I buy, any book that I get from a little free library, which is pretty rare, or any book that like I'm choosing to bring it into the library, whether I've paid for it or not. I'm choosing to bring it in. That's books in. So notice that doesn't include gifts because I'm not choosing to bring those in. I want the gifts to just be a gift and not have to worry about the numbers. So I don't include gifts there. Books out is only books from my physical library that I am reading. So that doesn't count library books. It doesn't count books that I DNF and unhaul. So that's how it balances out with the gifts in my head. Honestly, I probably get rid of more in a way that I'm not tracking than I'm bringing in a way that I'm not tracking. So in my brain, it works out. But books out are just the books that I'm physically reading from my library. So that being said, the books in so far for this year is 72. Which honestly is pretty good for me. I know it's all relative and that might seem like an extreme amount for somebody else, but I love spending my money on books. It's the area of shopping that I do the most. I don't shop a lot in other areas. And yeah, I want to support authors and independent bookstores and all those great things. So I get a lot of joy out of it. I'm not upset about that number, but it is down significantly from last year, I believe. So that's feeling pretty good. But my physical books out, so the ones I physically read from my library, is at 55. So 72 to 55. That is not even. And that is a pretty big difference this late in the year for me to make up. I'm definitely concerned. So it's 17 books. That is the difference between my books in and out. I don't think I'm going to even them out. I'm going to still try, but I will say, like, I am worried. I'm worried about this goal because I think I've said this before. I have a lot of traveling coming up. Whenever I travel, I always visit independent bookstores and buy books. So this month I'm going to be going to Texas. I know I will be buying books there. Next month, I'm going to Portland for the Portland Book Festival, which of course I'm going to be buying lots of books there. Plus I'll also go to Powell's, if not more. So that's going to be a huge book haul. Later in November, I'm going to be going to Colorado. I'll buy books there. In December, I'm going to Miami. I'll buy books there. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know how this one's going to work unless I like skyrocket the books that I'm reading each month. and reading heavily from my library, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. So fingers crossed that I can do this. Again, I'm still gonna try. I will not be defeated, but it's looking bleak in that one. So not doing well on the matching books in and out goal. I have another tracking goal, which is just tracking the small presses that I'm reading for this year, and that has been going well. I've continued to track that. I'm enjoying tracking that very much. So far, the amount of small presses that I've read from for the year is 24 small presses, 24 different small presses, which is amazing. And I've read 33 books total from small presses. So I'm loving keeping track of those numbers. At the end of the year, I'll have the final numbers and do percentages and show you all the ones I read from and how many I read from each independent small press publisher. So that's been very fun, and I have been doing that. So easy goal, tick, doing that one as well. And then the last goal, which I know I modified in my last video, is my project of reading all of the Sherlock Holmes books. So this one I modified at the midway point of the year. I was trying to read them all in 2023, but I've now extended that into 2024 because it wasn't being very enjoyable reading them in close succession to one another because they are kind of samey, like they're formulaic, and it was making it less fun. So I've extended it into next year. It's already increased my enjoyment of the books, so feel really good about that. So far, I've read 4 Sherlock Holmes books, 2 novels, 2 short story collections. I will probably read at least one more this year. The next book in publication order is a novel. It's The Hound of the Baskervilles, which I'm very excited for. So that one will definitely be getting read this year, and who knows if any more. That means I'll have read 5 by the end of the year, and then there will be 4 left for next year. So I feel really good about that, but that's that little modified goal there. So doing good. So all things considered, there's only one goal that I'm not meeting so far, and that is the books in and out. Otherwise, I've met all the other ones at this point in the year, so I feel really, really good about that. And it's giving me even more fire to try and get this books in and out matching. So we'll see, maybe I can get creative. If you have any ways that you think I can try and kind of meet this by the end of the year, please let me know. If there's any like video concept ideas or anything like that that you think might boost my numbers a little bit, let me know down below because I really do want to make it if I can. Other than that, I will say, so this is going to be my last reading goals check-in video until we get to the end of the year, and then I'll kind of wrap up the year in total. That video is going to be super long, so I'm warning you in advance. I really want to get a sense of what you would like to see specifically in that video. I'm going to be, of course, going over all of my goals, going over whether or not I've met them. And I will also be re-going over my content goals for the year, which I had at the very, very beginning of the year in my initial goal setting video. I talked about the content goals, but I haven't been checking in on those. I will do that check-in in that end of year video so you can see if I've met my content goals. That's very exciting, at least to me. And then beyond that, I guess, how much detail would you like to see? So for example, for my translated books goal, do you want to see like every translated book I've read? Do you want to see every small press I've read from? Like those types of things. Are you wanting to see that level of detail, or are you just wanting the stat? You tell me, and let me know if there's any other kind of reading goal related stuff that you would like to see at the end of the year. Love to include that if it's possible for me to include. So please let me know how your goals are going for this year so far. I would love to hear, to cheer you on and encourage you. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.